Hey, what's up, and welcome to the next hand. In this hand, we have middle position limper, which is basically a sign of a bad player. If we take a look on his stats, he plays 23-12, so limping is kind of an unusual play, I would say, for such a player. But anyways, we have a very strong hand, so we decide to raise. And yeah, we raise to $1. And the player under the gun decides to call, or in middle position in this case, and the flop rolls out 10-9-5. Rainbow, so pretty dry. I would say we hit pretty well with our top 2 pair. So I definitely would agree to make a continuation bet here. And yeah, Marcis also decided to bet. He bets kinda on the big side, but yeah, I still think, I think it's a little too big. If we take a look on our bet sizings, I would say it's a rather dry board texture, so 2/3 of a pot would be good. And what happens now is that this player pot raises us. So yeah, this is a very difficult situation in a lot of times, and I have to analyze the spots very often, very frequently. So yeah, what to do now? Let's take a look on our stack sizes, the SPR. So basically, we are still 100 big blinds deep, the effective stack sizes, and we have now to decide if we want to stick in all the money or not, because yeah, on the flop we are it's the best what we can hope for with our current holding. And what I mean by this is, if we call, there are no turn cards which really help us, and that's why we have to decide on the flop. Should we get it in, or what else should we do? Should we fold maybe? And yeah, folding is most of the time not an option for a lot of players. But if you think about what we've learned during the continuation bet chapter in the book, then we learned that, I mean, I definitely think that this is middle range, top of our middle range, something like this. And against tight players, we can, or against players who check raise very little, we can bet fold the most parts of our middle range. So what is in this scenario? We play against a player who plays 23-12. He folds against Conti bets 73% of the time. 73% sounds like a good sample already. It's not like 3 out of 4, it's definitely more. So it's already something. We also know that he played 478 hands and so far never check raised against the preflop aggressor. So he isn't the type of person who raises those boards very light, or let's say with something like King Queen 10 8, where he has top pair plus a gut shot. So I would never think that such a player would raise those hands. And yeah, maybe to show you, let's take a look on Marcis check raise stat, which is 8. And in the book I said that we should bet fold basically our middle range when players check raise less than 10%. So I think it would be nice to showcase what hands such an 8% check raising range includes. Next hand, again kings, this time just single suited. I know about this player that he plays 46-38, So rather on the loose-ish side, I definitely think that he steals pretty wide. So I decided here again to 3-bet, which I think is fine. It's a pretty light re-steal, but against the perceived loose player, definitely okay. The board comes 6-6-8. So yeah, I will c-bet this board basically 100%. And I don't think that I have to bet too big. I decided to bet about 1/3 of the pot, a little less even. Yeah, just because I picked this bet size with my whole range. It gives me cheap bluffs and yeah, thin value by a certain amount of hands. We get the call, and the turn brings the 3 of hearts. So I think that he might be on an overpair pretty often. Of course he can have a 6, but I still think that I should barrel here. There are still overpairs which would call. Again, I choose a sizing where as many overpairs as possible can call. Of course, I like to see jacks or queens calling. So I think this size is pretty fine. And he calls again. I basically represent aces here in this spot. And now that the 8 comes on the river, there is a flush. And we also picked up trips. So I again think about what would we do with aces now, and I think we just would check fold here. So I check because aces is the most likely hand I represent, and he decides to bet 40 now. So yeah, now I have to decide whether to call, whether to fold. Jack 10 and 8, open raise from UTG. We get 3-bet by a loose aggressive guy, and I will definitely call here against a pretty loose range. We're doing fine. The flop brings the 9-5-3, so we have an overpair. I don't think that donking achieves too much. I think we will get floated here a lot of the time. We are still 130 big blinds deep. So I just play it passively. And I think I just check fold here, given that he only c-bets 52%. But he checks behind in this case. Now we turn a rep, but also the flush completes. So I decided to bet out here. I can definitely represent the flush here because yeah, I checked the flop and I could either check call, check raise. Since he checked behind, I think we can take the pots away from him a decent amount of time already with a single turn bet. And another convenient thing is that we pretty exactly know that he has not a very strong flush if he calls. He can also call with the straight. I don't give him any sets here since he checked behind the flop, and I think the set would always bet the flop. So if he calls here, I think he has either a straight or a weak flush. And the river now brings the 3 of hearts, which might not seem like the best cards at first sight.